All right, hi everyone, I'm Mark. I want to introduce you to Michael. Say hello, Michael.
Hello everybody.
Michael and AB and myself, but mostly Michael, have been working very hard for the last couple of weeks trying to get our trust deeds organised for the Bhula community. It's been quite an interesting journey so far. We initially started with our commercial lawyers on the Gold Coast and spent quite a bit of time and money even just getting them to the stage where they even understood what we were trying to put together. And then luckily enough we were introduced to Roth Wall, who's a lawyer in Mullumbimby who specialises in multiple occupancies and communities. Roth's fantastic, but he's a very busy man, and so things were slowing down. So we feel very blessed to have met Michael. Michael is from the Czech Republic and was a lawyer in the UK and also an accountant, the poor fellow. Yes, so what I thought I'd do is just hand over to Michael and he'll explain the structure that we've put together. Initially when we spoke to Roth, a lot of the structures that Roth has put together for communities have been in companies, just company title, but there was a few issues around that in terms of possible litigation and us remaining private and so forth. So we have worked long and hard to put something together and we've got it as simple as possible. So I'll hand over to you now, Michael.
Yeah, so once again, hello everybody. Thank you for the kind introduction. So what we put together in terms of the structure for the community is really a trust. So I'm not sure to what extent everybody is familiar with the trust as a legal institute, but basically what we're going to do up there in the hills, we've got 2 blocks of land we're going to buy hopefully soon. And these have 2 separate titles. These 2 titles will be bought by a company that is already established, a private limited company. And this company will execute a trust in favor of all the unit holders, which will be basically all the community members. This will mean that each and every member of the community will hold equal equitable share in everything the community as the trustee and the company will own. So land, bank account, possibly future some joint ventures for organic farming and etc. So everything will be shared equally. The great benefit is that, you know, there's not really a benefit, depends the way you look at it, but as a result, none of the community members will be entitled or have separate legal title to any parcel of land, so it'll be all owned together. So vis-a-vis the outside world, the land registry and any authorities will have a company to act on our behalf as a trustee, but it will administer everything, you know, for our benefit as community members. Which will mean that also everybody will have an equal say in, you know, what the community will be doing and how we approach things, how we organize ourselves on the land, etc. The company will have one sole shareholder. Every company has to have an owner, and that will be an association, incorporated one, which we are in process of incorporating at the moment. And of this incorporated association, every unit holder and community member will be a member. So in terms of the trust, everybody will have a equal proprietary right in the land and everything we own as a community. In terms of how we run day-to-day things, we'll have an association where everybody will be a member and we'll decide, you know, and vote and, you know, bring ideas, how we're going to manage the land and our relationships, etc. Basically, nobody has to be afraid in terms of their entitlement to land. There is 600 acres. I think 200 acres is cleared, so there's loads of land to be allocated. And I think more than, you know, deciding where is my boundary of my parcel, it's going to be how we manage the land together. But, you know, I very much look forward to it.
I think that's a really important part, and hopefully either our editor will have this on the screen for you at time to time to see, or we'll attach it with the email that we send this out with. But I think that's a really important point, Michael, that we've been speaking about ever since the get-go, is that people aren't going to actually get allocated in any legal form a specific piece of land. We're all going to be equal unit holders in a trust that owns the land, and so we'll have an internal document that will then allocate land as we agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So vis-a-vis the outside world, the legal title will be on the company, the trustee. It's a wonderful name for the company. I like it. Mullumbimby Dreamtime, Proprietary Limited, and yeah, it depends how we organize ourselves. We can draft detailed bylaws. We can just have, you know, like an internal plan in our community center, etc. The point is that if you have any troubles, somebody trespassing on the land, etc., we would have the company to enforce its rights in vis-a-vis the authorities at courts, etc. We hope nothing will happen, but you never know. That's why we put up the structure in place, to protect the community, from the insane world, so we can create something sane within the community. And then on the land, how we organize ourselves is pretty much, kind of community matter and private. And of course, we can draft people, if we agree upon, we can draft like a contract, enforceable among ourselves, where the boundaries are, etc. I don't see it, as a necessary from my side, but I will respect, if other people want to really have. But again, the legal title is important, that the company will hold the title, and each family, let's say, because it could be individual or couple, will hold a unit, which gives an equal, equitable share in everything we own. Again, going forward, if you ask about, marriage, divorce, death of members, etc., bankruptcy, it's the unit that's your property. So it's like shares in the company. If you die as part of your deceased estate, the unit will basically behave very same manner.
Okay, so just to break that down for some people, you and I have been around these structures for a long time, but just to break it down into really simple terms, everybody that comes on board will get a unit in the trust that is run by the Wollumbin Dreamtime Company, which is the trustee. The shareholders of the trustee company is the incorporated association. So if you're allocated a unit, you are automatically and simultaneously issued the membership of the association, and the association is the shareholder. So the shareholder makes all the decisions for the company.
Yes, exactly. So in this way, we'll all have equal share in terms of property rights and equal voice in terms of deciding what we're going to do going forward and ongoing management of the community.
So one of the issues that we've obviously had to look at is how to protect our individual units, but also how to protect the company from possible litigation. So did you want to touch on that? Yeah,
so basically, as a unit holder, if you ever come into troubles in terms of bankruptcy, debt collectors chasing you, or any life event that could happen to anybody, the provisions of the trust are such that there is no straight entitlement to any income or any assets from the trust. So, for those more familiar with the matter, it's a discretionary trust. So it's up to the trustee to distribute. So let's say we accumulate a lot of income from our farming activities. So if we as a community decide to distribute, it's fine, we'll distribute among its members. If not, the unit holder as such will not have a legal claim against any assets or any income from the trust. The reason being that if you have a creditor that would like to use this right, to claim anything from the community assets, will remain protected, and he has no claim for the income and for any assets within the trust. So another thing I will, it's beneficial for any unit holder is the fact that, if you ever get, in troubles with banks or anybody, they can seize and not foreclose really, but seize your unit, as your property, etc. But you won't be foreclosed or evicted from your home, because that's part of the community. That's in the title. The legal title is in the name of the trustee and the company, and we as a community can keep you there and protect you. So if you ever are in troubles with creditors, it's up to the community to protect you. And I think it's a great structure, because the less you own, the less troubles you have, but you'll still have equitable interest in everything, and the equal voice. So that's one thing to protect the community assets.
Sure. In terms of decision making then, because the incorporated association is the shareholder and we're all members, will that be written in the trust deed, or is that in the bylaws, or both, in terms of, I think we've spoken about 85% decisions?
Look, the decision making will be twofold as the structure. So there is a trust deed and equal equitable interest. So there is 85% provision to make any changes to the trust deed. So special resolution. So we can always change the trust deed if you don't like it, if overwhelming majority of the members agree upon that. And all these decisions will be regarding any property rights. So money, land, all that stuff will be covered in the trust deed. Acquisitions, everything. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's actually allowed in the trust deed at the moment, but if in terms of proprietary rights, land and money, it's the trust deed decision making. Now the association will provide directors to the company, and all the decision making of how we run things, what we allow on the land or we don't allow, what we're going to be engaged in, what sort of activities, etc. Day-to-day management, really, it's always a lot of small things that needs to be dealt with. Mm-hmm. So that will be at the level of the incorporated association. There, the decision making is also overwhelming majority. I believe it's 85%. But again, there is a model articles for association at the moment, and we can we can change it anytime if we agree upon as community. Really, so of course this requires everybody's involvement. As you know, community for me, and I think Mark's got the same opinion. It's not only about what I get from it, but how I, get involved and. How can I contribute and talk to others and share ideas and
so it's
really
important
build
to turn up
something.
to the meetings, isn't it, and have a vote.
Yeah, once you are on board, it's exactly important to be involved in the meetings. Show up and show opinion and vote and show interest, because it's going to be our land. It's going to be Mark's, mine, or anybody else. It's going to be our land.
That's what I love about this structure, is there's no hierarchy, there can be no guru status. Everybody's absolutely equal. And
Yes.
I think that's what community's got to be about. So Wollumban Dreamtime, I think we should backtrack slightly here. I think in some of the previous information we were talking that because there was 2 titles, that we would have 2 trusts and 2 companies. I love that Michael came in and said, well, why? Why are we doing that? And so we've obviously simplified it to 1. But it's envisaged, isn't it, that Wollumban Dreamtime will have 3 to 5 directors or something like that, and they'll be voted in every year by the members of the association.
Exactly. At the moment, just to buy the land, it's Mark the only shareholder, so make it simple so he can execute the documents. But at the first meeting of the association, we would probably decide to have 3 or 5. It depends, how many people we need to represent us as the community vis-a-vis the outside world, really, because the trustee company will act with the council, with the land registry, entering into contracts, be responsible for the land, whatever it might mean, contracts, again, authorities, etc., council. Mm-hmm. So we need somebody to represent the company. So we'll, as an association, we'll vote in directors which we like.
Yeah, of course.
Whoever we like.
All right. Now, in terms of exit strategy, so if somebody has lived there for a few years and they decide it's not for them, or they have a change in circumstances and they want to sell, what's the simplest way to explain how that would work?
Yeah, so very simply, you can get out. You own the unit. You can dispose of the unit according to the provisions of the trust deed, which is, again, in layman terms, you submit a transfer notice to the trustee that you intend to move on and move out and sell the unit. The trustee may decide to buy it, or as the community can buy it from you. If there are funds available, we can buy the unit back from you. If not, then we can offer it to outside people. The only kind of complication for you would be that the newcomer, so the transferee, the one who buys the unit from you, would have to be approved by the community, So, and of course, agree to be bound by the same terms as we are all, bound on trust deed, etc. So, the only complication is really to get approval for a newcomer, and otherwise it's just, simple procedure, notifying the trustee, getting the money from the community, or if there are no funds available, you can sell it to outside people.
Sure. So in terms of the sale price, would that be that would be determined by the seller of the unit? And that's my first question. The second one is, what about any capital improvements that they make to their allocated lot?
The price will be negotiated between the newcomer and the unit holder. So
as with any standard real estate, even though they're just buying a unit, that would be the same.
Standard real estate, they are not buying a legal title; they are buying a unit in trust. Yep. So, in terms of valuation, to get kind of fair price, it's going to be interesting how the valuers approach it. I see it as they would value the whole community and then split up by number of units which are at or issued at the moment or at the time of the valuation. Mm-hmm. So yeah, then it's a real estate valuation, so just divided by number of units. So it shouldn't be a problem to get some sort of fair price. Otherwise, you can always negotiate with somebody. What is the price? I see the capital improvements. We all contribute to capital improvements of the community, right? So the houses we build, how we manage the common land, community facilities, etc. Yeah. So again, if you sell a unit, as you get on board or if you get out, it's always the same. You are not selling your real estate. You're selling a place in the community, which will consist of many community facilities. The spirit of that. Of course, the land itself and any capital improvements. But it's not going to be selling like individual lots or individual house, really. For people who are, again, it's a community. So it's not like selling my house, it's just selling the place. Of course, everybody will have his own space, 5 acres, 3 to 5, I think it's going to be, of private use. People uncomfortable with this setup, we can still execute some sort of a lease for them, for this particular space or particular piece of land, if they really want to. I don't think it's necessary, but if they really want to have something on paper, some symbolic lease can be executed so they have some legal title for those 3 acres. But I don't see it necessary going forward. But again, as a community, we we have to decide these things. Of course, we won't keep anybody on board if he wants to move on. But so we'll do everything, to allow the people out. But again, as such as it's structured at the moment, the only thing that is bought and sold later on is unit in the trust. So maybe the same way you buy mutual funds, sometimes they're structured as a unit. So whatever the value of the whole fund is, you have a certain share in that. So that's how the unit is structured. And it has a lot of advantages, I believe.
Yeah. And I think that's the paradigm shift that most of us, including myself, I've got a real estate and finance background. I think that's the shift that we need to get, is that we need to be not so stuck on my block, my land, my fence line is there. We're all buying into a big property, it's 640 odd acres, and there's plenty of space. So I think we'd like to probably keep that as casual as we can. Yeah. Thanks, Michael. That's great. Is there anything else we need to cover off on?
I think maybe people are interested in terms of the process, where we are at the moment.
Chronologically, how it would work?
Chronologically, so today is 17th March. So tomorrow we should execute a trust deed, the final version. So that's a legal and enforceable document. That can be then circulated towards people who were committed financially, or those who are still waiting for the documents. Then upon like a short one-page application for a unit, for those who already paid, the actual unit certificate can be issued. Mm-hmm. And once we collect all the money, we're pretty much almost there for the price of the land, and the money on the company's or trustees account will be used to buy and settle the land. And since then, it's us, it's our land, it's our community, and all the unit holders and all the members.
Then the fun really begins.
The fun really begins. So we are almost there in terms of timing. And apologies for taking longer than expected, but with legal documents, it's always the way that takes longer than expected. It needs to be. We hope that the legal documents will never be dealt or never be used again. That's always our for the bad situations, like litigations and some disputes, etc. We hope it's going to be enjoyable, fun, smooth process for all the people involved, and we can't wait to really move on the land and start our building the sustainability that we dream of. Of course, if there is any problem in the future, we hope not, but if there's anything, we hope to have a very good set of documents in place that would protect in first place the community itself, rather than an individual member, because again, in our opinion, if you are reasonable people, you can always agree on any simple compromise, or help each other, etc.
Mediation and dispute
mediations,
processes.
Exactly. So if so the documents hopefully will be only used in terms of big troubles, but to be very well protected in that case, we hope to have a very good set of documents, and that's why it took a bit longer. So we thought of every eventuality that could happen, so how to best protect the community and its members, really, because the community is us and you if you join.
Yeah, we're all equal. That's great. Michael, are you available to field calls if anybody's got any particular questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Just feel free to give me a call. I think circulate my contact details.
All right, I'll do that when I send this out. I'll put Michael's contact details on there, and feel free to have a chat with him if you need any further clarification.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're almost there. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.